Welcome back to Sports Unfiltered. You're listening live to WICR, the voice of Iona College. And today we have a very special guest, Kimberly Moisa. A lot of you know her as Isles Girl 13 on Twitter, obviously from Matthew Barzell. She has the Kim in the Crease podcast. She has over 3,000 followers now as of today. And quite frankly, she's probably the biggest Islander fan I've ever met besides myself. So, first of all, Kim, thanks for being on the show.
Hi, thank you. And it's Isles Girl 3.
Isles Girl 3. Oh. See, I can't even read my notes. All right. So, can you tell us a little bit about the Kim in the Crease podcast you do on Sundays?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, Kim in the Crease podcast was actually first a Twitter Live thing. And people were kind of like coming at me like, you should start a podcast. And I was like, no. And I put it off. And you know what? At the end of the day, I love talking hockey. It's what I do. It's what I love. And it's my escape from everything in the entire world.
That's awesome.
So when I talk hockey, it's my escape from life. And so when I go and I do my podcast on Sunday nights, I make it a live event. So you can give me live comments. We can have, I like having that interaction with people watching. I like having that one-on-one interaction. It keeps it flowing and it keeps it, exciting, at least for me and hopefully for my viewers. And, Kim in the Crease podcast is just, we talk mostly Islanders, but we go around the league and we just have fun while doing it.
Yeah, awesome. That's exactly why I love doing different guests every week, because something different every week keeps it fun. And I feel where the Islanders are basically an escape from life. I mean, I go to the Nassau Coliseum, I forget every single thing that's going on in my life, and it's just about hockey for those 2 hours. So,
absolutely.
So let's talk about the big story here. 10-game winning streak for the New York Islanders. First time since 1982 when they had a 15-game winning streak, and we all know that was their third Stanley Cup. So, Kim, why is this happening right now? Where does it all start?
Oh, absolutely from coaching. I think really just the change of mentality of this team. And I really just posted about it from a Barzell interview. So last night, after our 10th win, when Barzell was talking about his goal, he was asked a question. It was asked a little bit quietly, so I wasn't sure of the question. But he said, definitely, this team, every player in this room, he basically said everyone's not a big shot. Everyone knows they're as equal as any other player in that locker room. And I really that starts with, just the coach, the mentality of this team, and how we want to prove something to the rest of this league. And I think it was the same way back, you could say, in the 80s. We had, gone through a rough point. I think every team has, starting out, every team has a rough point except the Vegas Golden Knights.
Of course.
But, but we had something to prove, and we wanted to come out and show we were a legitimate team, and Islanders definitely are in that stage right now. We went through a lot of rough years, but with new coaching and a loss of a player and got rid of that one player makes the team mentality, we are so much better. And if you can see, teams have picked up big players in the offseason, like the Devils and the Rangers, notice how they're doing.
Exactly. And a lot of people will say Artemi Panarin made the wrong choice, but quite frankly, the way our team is set up, I wouldn't want to start like that on the ice anyway. That's just the way it works. But it all starts with coaching, as you said. Barry Trotz and Lou Lamoriello have created an amazing system. And then replacing Scott Gomez with Jim Hiller, which was kind of the one problem last year with the power play. Jim Hiller, yes, we haven't seen the power play that much because we've had trouble drawing penalties. Either the referees are against us or that's just something we have to get better in. But Jim Hiller has done a fantastic job on the power play. They've been moving the puck a lot more frequently. People are moving around. They're not just standing still, as Butch Goring will tell you, all the time on TV. By the way, Brendan and Butch, best pairing in hockey. We know that. And then Mitch Korn. Obviously, Mitch Korn, a major part of this team. Robin Leonard, amazing part of this system last year. I know that's your favorite player. He was mine as well. But now, Semyon Varlamov's come right into the system, and he's been just as good as Robin Leonard, if not better, early on in the season. So I want to ask you now, you have Varlamov playing amazing. You have Thomas Greiss playing amazing once again, like he did last year. Would you keep this rotation, or would you rather stick with one goalie later on in the season?
I would rather keep this rotation, keep them fresh, keep them, on their toes, kind of like, and I feel like it's kind of like a fuck, but not really. You want to have those two goaltenders you always can rely on and that you always feel like you can depend upon. And you know what? I feel like for the goalies, it's nice to sometimes, get a rest, and kind of watch the game from another, point of view. It's not just sitting on a bench getting cold.
Yeah, and this early in the season, I completely agree with you. But as I said last season with Leonard and Grice, you're not going to worry about this 14 games in. But once you get later in the year, if you don't pick a number one goaltender, when the playoffs hit, they're not going to be used to playing every day. They're not going to be used to having the short layoff between starts. So eventually you have to decide which goalie is going to be your playoff goalie, which goalie is going to be your top guy. But as of right now, I love the rotation. I love keeping guys fresh, and I love having everybody getting involved on this team.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest point. If you make a good point, going towards the playoffs, but right now I'm loving the rotation too. And it's also about keeping guys healthy. It's early in the season. You don't want people, we have people hurt right now. But with how we are as a team and these guys stepping up from Bridgeport, I say let them take their time to heal fully. Not, they're at 90%, we need them back.
And one guy stepping up.
Time to fully rest.
One guy stepping up from Bridgeport, you already mentioned an interview with him, Cole Barzell, finally scored his first NHL goal last night on the penalty shot to take the 2-1 lead. He's had many breakaways so far since he's come up, and I feel like that penalty shot was such a feel-good story for this fan base.
Absolutely. It was great for everyone in that arena. I think that's what really woke the team up and the fans in that arena, was just watching him score on that penalty shot. Because number one, we actually got something from the ref. And number two, what a story. Cole Barzell going from in college to a broken neck, 6 years in the minors, comes up and finally, gets that, aha moment. He gets his time in the show to shine.
And I wanted to ask you actually about the Barclays Center last night. I wasn't able to go. Usually I would try to go, even Tuesday night against Ottawa. But that was the first game in the Barclays Center. And everybody was worried it would break the chemistry. It would be a trap game against the worst team in the league. How did it sound at the Barclays Center? And do you think they'll be fine there the rest of the year?
I was actually kind of shocked with the Barclays Center. I feel like we had some good attendance there at the beginning. It was a little hard to get things going. Usually, Blue and Orange Army would get things with the drum, and even Paul Cartier, our organist, will get some jam started. It kind of felt disconnected at first, and if you look, we kind of had a sloppy first period in essence. But once we got going, once we scored that first goal, I feel the crowd got into it, and especially after the goal, Barzell, you could have sworn it was filled to the brim with fans. It got so loud at the end. Attendance, I feel, was really good, especially for the Barclays Center. So I was pretty happy with last night.
And if you have that kind of attendance against Ottawa on a Tuesday night, you're going to be fine. You just it's the Barclays Center. I understand that. But if you get that kind of attendance every game in the Barclays, no one's going to complain. And as long as you don't have the playoffs there this year, there's nothing to complain about. It'll be fine. But moving on now to Matt Barzell, obviously the star of this team. Yes, they don't really call players on this team stars. They all have their role. But Matt Barzell has been shooting the puck a lot more this year. And when he shoots the puck, we all know he could be a top 10, top 15 player in this league. So based on what you've seen from Barzell, do you think he's already gotten to that point? Or do you think he has to do more of what he's doing to be considered that?
All right, so this is interesting to me because I would, totally 100% agree with you. He's, improving. He's, developing. But last night, I feel like Barzell was holding back. Like, he had times where I feel like he could have ripped a shot, and he didn't. He turned around and, set up a play. And inside, I was kind of like, shoot, Barzy, you have it. But he just didn't take some of the opportunities that I felt he could have had last night. And but when he shoots, I feel like he's amazing, and he was just getting so many points, so many goals. I think he still needs more time to develop that confidence inside himself.
And he's just a pass-first mentality player. He has been since juniors. If he learns how good his shot is and uses it at the right times, he's going to be a 35-40 goal scorer in this league. And if you get that from Matt Barzell with his playmaking ability, he's a 100-point player a year, and he's probably a top 10 player. All right, so moving on to another player who has played great so far, surprisingly, is Derek Brassard. Ever since Derek Brassard moved to right wing, Derek Brassard has been a completely different player playing on the second line with Beauvillier and Brock Nelson. So what do you think they do with Derek Brassard once Jordan Eberle returns?
Derek Brassard, man, him on the wing has been fired from the Rangers. A lot of untapped potential. And coming here, I feel like he's finally gotten a little, taste of that potential. I feel like he's been hiding away for so long. Even Penguins fans I saw online going, where the hell was this Brassard?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure he played for 3 teams last year, too.
Yeah, it's insane. It's insane, But I feel like when Jordan Everly comes back, they're gonna go in their respective positions. But I feel like on the ice, you might see them, crisscross sometimes. I feel like there's gonna be some instances of crisscrossing. I see Brassard do it a lot sometimes, even with like Beauvillier and things like that. I think there's gonna be a lot of crisscrossing and making more Brassard more like kind of center and wing.
We sadly lost Matt Martin last week because Ottawa refused to close the bench, and we know he's now at 4 to 6 weeks. Knowing him, he's probably going to beat that timetable because he's Matt Martin. He always has. But you got to say that having a guy like Ross Johnston coming into the lineup, replacing him, is the perfect replacement, and a guy who's honestly a grittier, younger, and faster Matt Martin at this point of his career.
Absolutely. Losing Matt Martin, it was horrible, especially in something that looked kind of fishy, in my opinion.
Yeah.
To be honest, I think something like a door left open that resulted in injury should be a fine or
something. 100%. I agree.
With Ross Johnston coming in and just stepping up for his team, he's always there, especially, giving it back to Brady Tkachuk last night. Everyone loves that. He's also stepped up as a player. This is what I'm talking about, the guys from Bridgeport making a difference. But they came in, they want it, and they're going to show it. And Ross Johnston got, everyone kind of, goes at him on Twitter, but he stepped up, he got points, he got a goal, and he's there for the team, he protects the team, and he was making sure there was no funny business last night. Let's
stick with Bridgeport for a minute. Let's talk about Oliver Wahlstrom. He's played 8 games now, no points, but I feel like he's looked really good every single game he's been in. But once you have guys return from injury, do you think you might have to send him down for more seasoning?
Yeah, I really think in time, Wahlstrom back down, he's going to be one of those players that you're going to have to. I feel bad because he is really setting up great plays and doing great things with his team. It's just, getting them not, receiving the points. Dobson just got his first point last night as well. It's Wahlstrom's doing great plays. He's so close every single time. But it's just like, it's not enough, and I feel bad because, I don't know, I feel like if Wahlstrom may be paired up with some more higher skilled players.
No, I agree with that, definitely. I mean, he's playing on a line right now with Cole Barzell and Ross Johnston, 2 guys, as I said, I really like. They're doing their job perfectly, but they're not going to be guys that are going to get Oliver Wahlstrom his first goal.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking, is that, maybe it's not the right pairing to have him there all the time, but I still, as good as Wahlstrom has been, I still think he could use more time to develop.
A guy who I feel like could have used more time to develop with Noah Dobson, but they can't send him to Bridgeport. They would have had to send him to juniors. They didn't want to do that. Now with Nicoletti hurt, Dobson's going to play tomorrow, his 3rd straight game for the first time this season. How can you get Noah Dobson in the lineup when Nicoletti comes back? How can you get him more time?
That's a real big question because I feel like definitely it was a mistake when we replaced him with Johnny Boychuk. I feel like never take Johnny Boychuk out of the lineup ever. But Nicoletti is like the prime guy that I would feel like would flip flop with Noah Dobson, which hurts to say because we have such strong defense. You don't want to see any of them, out of the lineup. But I feel really it's just going to be at times
knows her stuff, man. She really knows her stuff.
Like when you have that defenseman who's just not maybe stepping up to the plate as you like, give Dobson a chance at a game or something like that. Make it kind of like if I'm not feeling I'm getting 100% from you, I'm going to put Dobson in because he's hungry.
You still there, Kim? I think we lost you.
She disappeared.
Kim.
She was too tired of you. Right?
Oh, you're there? We just lost you for a minute. My bad.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. I don't know. You just cut out of nowhere. But you brought up Johnny Boychuk. I feel like Johnny Boychuk's playing some of the best hockey of his career right now. Definitely the best we've seen in years from him. And most people don't realize how much of a leader he is on the defense. I feel like if we didn't lose him in the Carolina series last year, it would have been completely different.
Yeah. I really feel, even with last year, and I feel he's been a really underappreciated defenseman for our team. He is an absolute leader. If you watch closely on defense, he's always on that ice directing players, directing, his Nicoletti, who he's usually paired with. He's directing him. He's directing his forwards. He's setting up the play to get a rush into the offensive zone. He's so good on that defensive back. And goalies, if you remember, goalies love Johnny Boychuk because he's always there to put his body on the line for his goaltender. And he's that communication. Robin Leonard so appreciated it. He remember when he was out in the playoffs, and Robin Leonard said how much he missed him.
Mhm.
He really is an underappreciated player and has that amazing rocket like Ryan Fulop.
And once you lost Calvin DeHaan, you needed a guy to get down, step up, and block shots. Boychuk's done even more of it since they lost DeHaan. And quite frankly, without him on the ice, they're a completely different team. So I agree with you. He cannot be the one to take out for Dobson. Do you think...
That's why when I saw that Dobson was taking his position, I kind of went, oh no. And everyone was like, no, it's great. It's like, it makes sense. I was like, no, you don't want to take Johnny out. And we ended up losing that game.
Do you think Devin Tays has become the best defenseman on this team?
I still think Johnny is number one. For what he does, I still call Johnny number one defenseman on the team. Devon Taves, it's hard to rank them because I feel like every defenseman on the team steps up to the plate and does his job very well.
Yeah, and they also have their own role, as you just said.
Yeah, exactly. But every night, some have a spotlight. Some defensemen, some nights have their spotlight. Last night, I feel Adam Pellick had an extraordinary night.
Pellick was amazing last night. I completely agree.
I feel like he was the spotlight defenseman last night. And I think that's how the game should go. Is that our defensemen are equal and standing. They're, we have the 1 meter, but they're all, very successful and they do their job effectively. But one defenseman each game will have their little spotlight and do something amazing for the team.
Since we basically brought up every other defenseman, we might as well bring him up. It's hard to complain about anything in a 10-game win streak, but I feel like Ryan Polak has not been himself this year. He's been getting better the last couple of games, scoring a couple of rocket goals. But what do you think about what you've seen from Polak, and do you think he'll improve later in the year?
Because I feel like Ryan Polak's been pretty good. I think he's been getting...
Well, I feel like the last couple of games, he is getting really good, but beginning of the year, he was missing his assignments. He wasn't getting the offensive production we're used to. So it might just be me, but...
That could be just because it's the beginning of the season, you're getting back into it, it's kind of like a, culture shock back again, we're getting back into the schedule, I have to get used to, this, style again, it's different when you go from practice to a game, and so it could have been just the rust that's just coming off, he just maybe take more time to ease into the season. I really think, don't expect anything less from Ryan Fulop just because of 1 or 2 bad games.
So you were on well, first of all, you have 3,000 followers now on Twitter, as I mentioned at the beginning.
I can't believe that.
Yeah, that's nuts. But you were on a News 12 ad last year where they talked about John Tavares returning to the Nassau Coliseum, John Tavares facing the Islanders for the first time since he left. And I feel like you got a lot of bad publicity for that for no reason. You were basically became the centerpiece of other fan bases attacking you for it. So you took that and you spun it the correct way, and you gained a lot of followers because of it. You have a podcast now probably because you got your name out there because of it. And how do you think John Tavares returning this year, next Wednesday, will be different than last year, based on a fan perspective and just a team perspective?
So I think it's going to be obviously very less intense, but it's going to be, still, Vince arrives, everyone doesn't like him. I feel like there may be some boos that still come out, obviously. People are going to, still come out with it. I just don't, it's not going to be obviously as intense as it was when he first came to Long Island, with the signs and the snakes and everything like that. I feel like everyone's kind of gotten it out of their system. I mean, for me as a fan, I got what I wanted to say out of my system. And we got to do it in such a great fashion. I mean, a 6-1 win, how can it get better than that?
And John...
I feel like it's going to be like the second game we played against them in April. It's going to be, kind of low-key, just like a regular hockey game.
I could see that, but John Tavares coming back from injury tomorrow night, going to play with Trevor Moore and Mitch Marner. He hasn't played in about 3 weeks because of an injury, so a lot of people thought he might not even return to the Coliseum. But now that he is, I think it's going to be just as bad as last year.
You think he's going to make the
because
Coliseum
not
more
only
special?
yes, because it's the
No
end.
way.
You're talking about a game at the end of the year last year when we were about to go to the playoffs. We forgot about him. I understand, but now it's been so long since he's come back because it happened, I think, mid-season last year. It's been about 9 months since that game, so I feel like people still have energy built up. And while they might have moved on from John Tavares, once he goes back in that arena, he's going to get the same reception. And I think they're going to attack him just as much throughout the entire game.
See, I think we're going to, still maybe, get some backlash. But I don't know if I have it left in me. I mean, it happens. If we had our game and it's over for me, I'm just gonna the regular game. I may do a boo or two, just like in like just fun fashion because it's funny now. But I really don't think it's gonna be as sustained as sort of like intense, angry atmosphere. I think it's just gonna be. The boos here and there at the beginning, and then we're just going to hope our team wins because obviously we have the tension with the Toronto Maple Leafs, and we obviously want to win. It's like playing the New York Rangers. It's kind of like a second rivalry.
Ooh.
And I honestly agree with you there. I hope more fans are like you, where they're going to just treat it as a hockey game because we've won 10 in a row. Let's show the entire NHL we've moved on. We're sticking with the players we have, and we're going to make something special on the island this year. There's no reason to attack John Tavares. Yes, we could boo him. Yes, we could have a little fun, but we got to move on. And I think we have for the most part. So we'll see what happens there. Yeah. I'm going to do my best to get to that game because I sadly did not get to go to the game last year. So next Wednesday night. You can't make it next Wednesday?
I cannot. I have school obligations.
Well, I'm going to try to get there and replace you and bring that same energy. So don't worry about that.
I would love that. Thank you.
But last question I'm going to ask you before I let you go. When do you think this 10-game win streak ends? Because obviously we can't win every game the rest of the season.
I know, and I've been saying that on my podcast is that, everything good must come to an end. And that hurts my heart. Obviously, you never want it to end. I want to tie the record that we made in the 82 season with 15 wins. I want to tie the NHL record of 17 wins. I want to break records up. Make history and show everyone what is up. I want to put our name in the history book and show the New York Islanders are a contending team. You have to notice us. That would be amazing to me. It would be everything to my heart to be able to make that statement. I think we can do it, in my opinion. Maybe I'm just a really optimistic fan, but I really think we can do it with how we're playing, especially since 3 of our next 5 games are versus the Pittsburgh Penguins.
That's what I'm scared about, though, because I feel like the Penguins are going to be out for blood because of what happened in the first round.
Okay, and I understand that, but weren't they out for blood in the playoffs?
Say that again. I'm sorry. I lost you again.
I'm saying the Pittsburgh Penguins, weren't they out for blood in the playoffs?
Oh, they were definitely out for blood in the playoffs, but now it's been sitting with them so long that they got swept that I feel like playing them 3 times, it's almost impossible to beat them 3 more times in a row.
And you know what? They have some injuries on their team, too. I just saw Chris Letang is out, and that's huge. I feel like that's a big hit to their team as well. When it comes to the Penguins, the ones I worry about on the ice are obviously Crosby and Malkin. I mean, those two are just insanity on the ice. When I see them on the ice, I'm like praying for the defense to keep tight on them. But other than that, they lost Phil Kessel, which I feel like was another essential part of their team. And I just feel like with how this team is, players stepping up and the chemistry that we're having at this point, we can beat them all 3 times.
I love the optimism, honestly, but I hate to be a pessimist here. I think we're going to lose the game in Pittsburgh right when we're about to tie that 15-game win streak. 14-game win streak, and then it ends. That would be awful, but that's my prediction.
Jake's always the pessimist.
Okay.
Every situation.
I understand the prediction. I really do. It's hard because we have Pittsburgh, then we have Florida, Philadelphia, and then Pittsburgh. So if there's a team that I feel like can come back and kind of surprise us, I'm going to call Florida.
Florida, really? I mean, 1 o'clock at the Barclays Center. You know they're not always the best in afternoon games, the Islanders. So I definitely could see it. Yeah.
And we won our last matinee game. Luckily, but I don't know. I feel like Florida is kind of that up and down team where they can really surprise you, or we can dominate them.
Just please don't let it be the Maple Leafs. I know we're moved on, but don't let Tavares end our win streak.
That would be brutal.
All right, Kim, I'm going to let you go. Thanks for coming on. That was really good. You obviously know your stuff.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. I really, really appreciate it.
No problem at all. All right, thank you, Kim.
I hope you guys have a great night.
You too.
That was great, man. She really knows.
She definitely knows her stuff, I'll tell you that.
I was blown away, man.
I've been looking for someone to go back and forth with me about hockey for a long, long time.
I think you found it.
And I think I finally just found that person.
Found it.
So we are going to go to break. We don't have much time left, but we're still going to go to break. When we get back, we're going to bring Charlie on for however long we can. I mean, he only wants to talk about Carlos Beltran anyway. It's not that big of a deal. You are listening to Sports Unfiltered live on WICR, the voice of Iona College.